I'm not sure you could have drawn up a better Orange Bowl matchup. The first college football playoff semifinal game will feature Notre Dame and Penn State, the number 7 seed and the number 6 seed. Two teams that are very, very similar in terms of how they play. Two teams that are led by fantastic head coaches and two teams that are looking to end their long national title droughts. But only one of them can advance to the championship game. And we're here to tell you who that will be right now. So welcome back to the Gridiron Expert. So glad you could join us today for this playoff semifinal prediction video. As always, please continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and check out everything down in the description below. We've got tons of exclusive content over on thegridironexpert.com for you. That includes our expert picks, our holiday special, which will give you the spread picks for the remaining college football games this year, as well as the rest of the NFL season, the entire NFL playoff, all of our picks over on thegridironexpert.com. Go sign up for those today. We want you to become a member of our GE Nation, and we'd love for you to start winning big with us. So again, all that exclusive content, all that extra info can be found in the description and over on our website. So again, I really am just beyond excited for this matchup. I really don't think you could have drawn it up any better. Notre Dame looking to make their first national title appearance since 2012. Penn State, on the other hand, has not won a national title since 1986 and certainly has not been in a national championship game, really since that game was established, before it used to be voted on and things like that. So this is a massive step forward for two programs that have, really kind of been laughed at historically in recent years about how they can't win the big games. Penn State could never get to the playoff under James Franklin, always found a way to lose to Ohio State or someone like that would keep him out. Notre Dame would sometimes make a big game, made the national championship in 2012, got blown out, made a handful of playoff appearances under Brian Kelly, got blown out. So now these two teams have won a handful of big games that have gotten them to this playoff semifinal spot, but now they're in another big game that has to get them to the national championship. So a lot is riding on the line here, so much at stake. And again, I just want to go back and reiterate how much respect I have for both Marcus Freeman and James Franklin, two fantastic coaches, not just great coaches, but great people. And it's a shame one of them is going to have to lose on Thursday night, truly, because they both have done a phenomenal job with their programs. But let's start on the offensive side of the ball. Let's go ahead and jump into the X's and O's, and we'll start with Notre Dame. We know what it is about Notre Dame. We could sit here and go back for all these teams and go back to throughout the entire season. But let's not focus on that. The playoff starts essentially a new season, right? So what Notre Dame did back in week 2 or whatever when they lost to Northern Illinois, clearly that doesn't matter now, right? Forget about that. They have proven that they are still one of the best teams in the country. They have proven they're better than whatever happened on that day in South Bend, right? They crushed Indiana, and they beat Georgia by 13 points in New Orleans. This is a team that in the playoff has been phenomenal running the football, just like they have all year long. They've rushed for an average of 217 rushing yards per game on the year. They had 193 rushing yards against Indiana in their first round matchup, had 154 rushing yards against Georgia in the quarterfinals. So that's 347 rushing yards in 2 games on 72 carries. That's averaging 4.8 yards per carry in the playoffs alone. So the Fighting Irish, they know how to move the ball. They know how to bully you up front in the trenches. They know how to run the ball, and that's what they want to do. Riley Leonard has been fine at throwing the ball. He's thrown for 291 yards in these 2 games on 56 attempts, but he's not a guy that you want to have, lean on the pass. If the Notre Dame ground games get shut down, can Riley Leonard step up? That's the million-dollar question. Can he step up and win the game solely through the air? And we'll touch more on that in a second. But Leonard is the X factor with his legs. That is what's going to determine whether or not Notre Dame can win this game and go to the national championship, or whether or not they fall just short. He has 110 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown in these 2 college football playoff games. He had 80 rushing yards in their quarterfinal matchup against Notre Dame. He was a major, major role as to why Notre Dame won that game. You can point at the defense. You can point at the turnovers that they were able to face, the big kick return for a touchdown. But Riley Leonard and his ability to control the pace offensively, his ability to pick up key first downs with his legs is what helped propel Notre Dame to victory in that game. But here's the thing. He's going to have to throw it more if he wants to beat Penn State. If Notre Dame wants to win this game, they can't just ground and pound like they did against Indiana and Georgia. They're going to have to throw. And here's my only issue with that. Can Riley Leonard push the ball down the field? He has attempted 56 passes in these 2 playoff games, completed 38 of them, which is fantastic. The problem with that is only seven of his 38 completions have gone for at least 10 yards. only 7 have gone for, over 10 yards. So only one of those has gone for over 15. So this is that kind of dink and dunk offense. I'm going to hit you here, hit you there, quick out to the running back. Jeremiah Love, guys like that are fantastic. But if it comes down to a game where Riley Leonard has to throw, can he push it down the field accurately? Can they get the ball moving quickly enough down the field? I do have concerns about that. They have not pushed the ball much against Indiana and Georgia. Granted, yes, they were doing great defensively. They were doing great running the ball, so they would say there's no need to pass. But if you are forced to, can he do it? They really haven't shown that in their first 2 games. Penn State, on the other hand, we said these teams are built very similarly. That is absolutely the case. They are very similar to Notre Dame. They want to run the ball, but they are more balanced, and one could argue they own the quarterback edge from a throwing perspective. Rushing, Riley Leonard beats Drew Aller. But if I'm picking a quarterback that I need to throw the ball more, I'm taking Drew Aller. This is a Penn State team that averages over 230 passing yards per game, over 202 rushing yards per game. Katron Allen and Nick Singleton, both 1,000-yard rushers, so you've got a dual threat in the backfield alone with those 2 running backs that makes it so difficult to stop. They had 189 rushing yards against SMU in their first-round matchup. They had 216 rushing yards in their quarterfinal matchup over Boise State. 405 rushing yards in 2 games compared to 307 passing yards in 2 games. And my thing here, if I'm Penn State, is yes, you're going to try to run the ball. Notre Dame and Penn State are going to try to do what they do best, and that is running the ball. You're not going to come into a game of this magnitude and completely change your offensive philosophy. It's not going to happen. But they both could struggle at doing what they do best because of how strong the defenses are, which we'll get to in a second. So, if that's the case, you have to pivot a little bit. You've got to start throwing the ball a little bit more. And Penn State, I think, can exploit Notre Dame's secondary. This Notre Dame secondary gave up 234 passing yards to Gunnar Stockton. That was 7.3 yards per pass. The defense, yes, stiffened up in the red zone. They forced that key fumble. They got the strip sack, which led to the touchdown. They had the kick return for a touchdown. Notre Dame's defense did their job. But Gunnar Stockton, his first ever career start, did a fairly decent job of moving the ball for Georgia to an extent. So this could be a game offensively. If I'm James Franklin, if I'm Penn State, saying, hey, Drew Aller, this is your time to shine. Yeah, we're going to let Katron Allen, Nick Singleton do their job. We're going to try to get them to go, but this is on you. Let's see what you can do. Throw the ball a little bit more. Lean on your star tight end and Tyler Warren, who has over 1,100 reception yards and 8 touchdowns, has 63 yards and 2 touchdowns in their win over Boise State. Lean on him. Even if it's just a simple check down to Warren, get to him. That could be the difference maker in Penn State's ability to move the ball through the air maybe more effectively than that of Notre Dame. We go to the defense, though. Obviously, for me, that's where the game's going to be made, right? Both these teams offensively share a similar strength. Both these teams know what they want to do offensively, but both these teams have elite defenses. Absolutely elite. And if you look at Notre Dame, it's their defense that helped them beat Georgia, right? Some called that a massive upset. I disagree. We picked Notre Dame to beat Georgia. Literally, go back and watch the video. We picked Notre Dame to beat Georgia in that game. We felt very confident in their defense against Gunnar Stockton. We felt very confident in their ability to move the ball against the Bulldogs, especially on the ground. We did feel good about that. And it was the defense of Notre Dame that completely changed the outcome of that game. Remember, it was a 6-3. Looked like it was going to be 6-3 heading into halftime. Then you got the strip sack, which led to an immediate touchdown. And then right out of halftime, they returned the kick for a touchdown. That 17-point swing in less than a minute of game time is what changed the trajectory for Notre Dame and completely changed the game. In their 2 playoff games alone against Indiana and Georgia, the Fighting Irish had 7 sacks, 19 tackles for a loss, and 3 turnovers. Phenomenal stats for just a 2-game stretch. They held Indiana to 63 rushing yards. They held Georgia to 66 rushing yards. They've only given up 128 rushing yards per game on the entire season and less than 300 yards per game on the entire season as a whole. So what they've done these last 2 games, continue to follow that recipe. If you hold Penn State to I'll even go over 100. If you hold Penn State to under 120 rushing yards, unless you're going to win this game, assuming Drew Aller doesn't go out there and torch you. If you shut down that running game of Penn State and put everything on Drew Aller's shoulder, I'm not saying you're going to win the game, but you've got a phenomenal chance to do it. Making sure that Penn State cannot remain balanced, which is what they've had all year, a relatively balanced offense, is going to be their key. So find a way to make them one-dimensional. Find a way to put it all on Drew Aller. And again, get pressure on Drew Aller. He's been sacked 7 times in 2 games. So Boise State got pressure on him. SMU got a little bit of pressure on him. If Notre Dame, who again has gotten a lot of pressure on opposing quarterbacks in these last 2 games, if they can do that against Drew Aller, maybe force him to some mistakes, second, third, and long situations, they're going to be sitting pretty. It's exactly what they've done the first 2 games, exactly what they did against Georgia. Do it one more time, you're in the national championship. Penn State, on the other hand, they are just as elite. They are phenomenal on that side of the ball. They have forced 7 turnovers in the last 2 games. 7 turnovers against SMU and Boise State. That includes 6 interceptions. This secondary has been unreal for the Nittany Lions. They had 2 pick sixes against SMU in the opening round and then forced 3 interceptions off of Boise State in the quarterfinals. They're giving up just 288.8 total yards per game. That's over the course of the entire season. They're allowing just a little over 100 rushing yards per game. And that's kind of the thing here. If you stack, I'm not saying you got to stack the box. I'm not saying you got to stack the box. But if you bottle up Notre Dame's run game, Jeremiah Love has been fantastic. Darian Price has been fantastic. Riley Leonard has been fantastic. If you shut down the Fighting Irish run game and kind of turn Riley Leonard into a pocket passer, if you make sure he cannot escape the pocket, make plays with his legs, or extend plays and find a receiver downfield, if you limit him to the pocket, you win this game. And I feel very confident about that. Because if Penn State shuts down the run, they held SMU to 58 rushing yards. They held Boise State and Ashton Jeanty to 108 rushing yards. And someone say, well, it's over 100 yards. Yeah, they rushed the ball 40 times. So Penn State, against one of the best running backs in the country, only allowed 2.7 yards per carry. Jeanty unable to reach 127, which was what he had in every game this season prior to that. And he was unable to break the all-time rushing record. I think he needed 131 to break that. Held him to 108. So Penn State's rushing defense has been phenomenal. They did allow 304 passing yards to Boise State, which is a bit of a concern. But again, in a game where the Broncos were trailing for the majority, in a game where Jeanty really wasn't getting much going, they had to throw the ball more, and Penn State was more than happy to allow a couple decent pass plays here and there, as long as they weren't getting in the end zone, especially once the game got out of hand. Ended up winning by 17. So again, if they shut down Notre Dame's running game, if they force Riley Leonard to just remain in the pocket, have to deliver the ball through the air, win the game solely by throwing, I don't have faith in him to do that. They've got 6 sacks in these 2 playoff games, 20 tackles for a loss, and the turnovers are the key. Notre Dame's done a pretty good job of taking care of the football. They've got to make sure they do that now. If they don't, and you turn that ball over to the Nittany Lions, they will chew up the clock, they will convert, and it will be hard for Notre Dame to battle back from a deficit, depending on how big it is. You get down double digits in this game against this Penn State team, you could be in for some major trouble. So, guys, I'm looking at this game. It really, to me, is a toss-up. Vegas believes it's almost a toss-up. I think Notre Dame less than a field goal favorite coming into this game. It's going to be close. Again, these 2 teams play such a similar style. Ground and pound on offense, very stingy and elite up front on defense. That's why it's such a perfect matchup. That's why it's hard to pick. That's why it's going to be an entertaining game. That's why I think it's a relatively low-scoring game because of how strong these 2 defenses are. But at the end of the day, if both these defenses take away their opponent's strength, which is running the football, which team will throw the ball more effectively? Which offense can make a bigger play in the passing game than the other? And to me, that is Penn State. I have more faith in Drew Aller and his core of pass catchers than I do in Riley Leonard and his core of pass catchers. If the game were to come down to that, I like them just a little bit more. I like Penn State's balance a little bit more. And their defense is playing at a very high level. Notre Dame's is as well, but I like the Nittany Lions just a little bit more. Give me Penn State to win this game. Again, what I believe is essentially a toss-up. I have a little bit more faith in their offense. I have just as much faith in their defense as I do in Notre Dame, but it's the Penn State team that makes the final play when it matters the most. Penn State advancing to the national championship game, looking to clinch their first since 1986. Notre Dame falling just short once again of the ultimate goal, but Marcus Freeman doing a phenomenal job in South Bend, and trust me, they will be back, possibly in this exact spot at this time next year. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to leave your thoughts for this college football playoff semifinal game down in the comments below. We're anxious to hear who you have picking, how they're going to win, final score. Leave it down there below. Let's get ready for what should be an exciting next few days of college football. But as always, please continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and check out everything down in the description below. That includes our website, thegridironexpert.com, home of our expert picks, home to our holiday special, and tons of exclusive content there for you year-round. Again, the link for that down in the description below. And once again, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on The Gridiron Expert.
Yeah.